go through the law that was set up by this parliament, which is the County Governments Act, to go through the process of removal. In fact, it will come to a point whether we're looking at it. We're not going to be looking at whether this is a man or a woman, or whether the members of the committee were former governors. I dare say that the two distinguished senators who are former governors are really well thought out, very intelligent leaders who can be able to guide this process. So, Mr. Speaker, as emotive as the matter might be, let us remember one thing, that we can today decide, let's change that committee, and we put all nominated women as senators. But when it comes to voting, will they vote? And the fact is, they will not vote. Mr. Speaker, we talked about the issue of men versus women. Those are very emotive issues. But when it comes to a process which is clearly defined by the Constitution, the only people who will vote are the leaders of the delegation. And by design, or rather by the way things are in this country, unfortunately, most of the people who are elected as senators are men. It is a very sad situation, but is that something now that we have to go back to the voters and tell them that make sure that tomorrow when there's a woman who wants to become a senator, elect her. We are talking about this issue of two-thirds gender. But really, should it be a big argument when we are discussing issues of whether to allow 11 of our colleagues? You know, Mr. Speaker, the majority leader, when he sits here, is a very intelligent gentleman. He's not a member of that committee. He chose other members of his party who he thought that would be able to ensure that they give justice to this lady. The minority leader also chose members on this side without looking at the gender. The only thing that we emphasize on was that you are removing a governor. When you are removing a governor, you as an elected senator traverse the entire county to seek for vote. That governor traversed the entire county. If you come and remove that governor and ultimately you don't even have a vote to determine whether she goes home or not, what will it help? So, Mr. Speaker, I want to beseech my colleagues here that let us not trivialize this matter. Let us not bring the issue of two-thirds gender rule to determine how we are going to defend devolution. You know, it is quite sad, Mr. Speaker, that we are sitting in this house today on a special sitting, barely 3 months since the Honorable Governor took office. These are very emotive matters that require sober minds. It requires us to sit down in a committee, go through all the evidence, and then when you come here, because ultimately it will come back to plenary. Mr. Speaker, when it comes to plenary, I want to hear whoever is going to be elected as the chairperson of that committee convincing me whether I should vote to send that governor home or to retain her. My job is really not to impeach a governor. There is no senator here who can impeach a governor. A governor can only be impeached by the MCS. Our job is just to go through. We actually will be working as if we are, what do you call it? Huh? You know, there's a word, they use it a lot in America. As a jury. So our job is like as a jury. So we'll be sitting there and saying, did they follow the law? One. Okay, if they presented evidence that the governor spent the money at source, is it true? And then we leave the matters of the court to be dealt by the court. So in conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I would like to beseech this House to support the committee way. Let us give the men and women who are put in that committee an opportunity to be able to go through the evidence, investigate the matter. Let's listen to the content of the motion is to investigate and determine whether or not the assembly followed the law. Mr. Speaker, finally, as I sit down, there are issues of preliminary orders that will come. You know, POs, or preliminary objections. This House sitting in plenary will not give that governor an opportunity for the lawyers to argue as to why we should not proceed with this matter. But when we sit in a committee and you are brought in a PO from a high court of Kenya, you will get an opportunity to go through it. We have a very able secretariat who will be able to tell us, okay, we have matters either sub judice, this matter will become sub judice, or we are barred by the court. So let's stop this political process. And by then, the matter ends there. Mr. Speaker, we had a case of Taita Taveta. When it was brought before this House, we chose the committee way. When we chose the committee way, when they went, the first order of business was to seek whether there is a court order. When they saw that there was a court order, that matter rested there. So there's no one who will be prejudiced by us going through the committee. So, Mr. Speaker, I plead with my colleagues. Let us go through the committee way. We give these distinguished senators an opportunity to be able to investigate and save devolution. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Senator Mwangaza.
I want to thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also share my thoughts. Mr. Speaker, President Woodrow Wilson, the 28th President of the United States, was quoted as saying, when Congress is in plenary, Congress is in exhibition. When Congress is in committee, Congress is at work. Mr. Speaker, let us put aside politics. Let us look at what is before us. What is before us is for us to determine, Mr. Speaker, whether we shall uphold the will of the people of Meru as opposed to the will of 68 members of County Assembly of Meru. Mr. Speaker, I want to ask my colleagues, none of us here is an expert on everything. No senator, Mr. Speaker, is an expert on everything. That is why, Mr. Speaker, we recede to committees so that we can have the benefit of expertise of people who know this stuff. Mr. Speaker, there are audit queries amongst the charges that you have read. Some are lawyers here, some are social scientists, some are engineers, some are traders. You cannot claim to be able to be so knowledgeable that here you are a lawyer, here you are an audit person, and you prosecute the matter in the manner and the depth at which it is required, Mr. Speaker. So I want to urge my fellow colleagues that if we have trust in the capacities of our fellow senators, let us give them that opportunity. And I wanted to ask my sister, Gloria, Senator Gloria, Honorable Senator Gloria, Distinguished Honorable Senator Gloria, Her Highness, did you say? Mr. Speaker, I wanted to request her to think about this, The issue of whether the governors who are being selected to sit in that committee, former governors, balances. You can have one way of looking at it, you can have the other way of looking at it. The other way, Mr. Speaker, is that these governors have lived through these experiences, live experience, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, they will be of great use. They will be able to help the committee.
What is your point of order, Senator Gloria? I thought you've been decorated.
Mr. Speaker, I was at the floor of the House executing my point, and I was reprimanded for mentioning that 2 former governors will be sitting in that committee. Mr. Speaker, the same has been done by a male senator, and it is okay with the House. These are the things that I'm talking about. you should retract your statement referencing any former governor sitting in any committee with regards to the impeachment. That is what we are talking about, gender sensitivity.
Senator Gloria, I think Senator Mungatana was trying to look at the wealth of experience each of these proposed names bring to the committee. Senator Mungatana, proceed.
Mr. Speaker, I don't wish to be distracted in my train of thinking, but I want to urge my fellow friends and colleagues in this house, please, let us not be emotional about this thing. Let us put the correct people. And Mr. Speaker, when I'm looking at this list and commenting on the competences of the membership that has been proposed, I'm not out of order. When I say there are legal issues, and maybe we have lawyers there. When I say there are governance issues, and there are people who have been governors before, Mr. Speaker, I'm not out of order to say that the list that has been proposed, Mr. Speaker, is a competent list. And Mr. Speaker, I wanted also to point out this issue, that whenever we are forming committees, we try to bring regional balance. I have looked at this list, the proposed list, Mr. Speaker. I see that the category of regional balance has been met. The category of new and old members of this Senate has been met. Mr. Speaker, the category of those people who have been in that situation that the subject matter of this motion and those who have not been is met. Mr. Speaker, I don't see why we should spend time on this matter. I am urging this House, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm urging this House. Gerard Gay, Bwana, sit down, Bwana. You have not been given the floor. What's the problem with this guy? No, sit down, Bwana. Sit down, you're out of order. No. No, you cannot harass the speaker like that, Bwana. You sit down, Bwana. No.
Senator Mungatana, please just have your seat, please.
No. You can't harass
Senator
the speaker.
Mungatana,
yes.
Kindly have your seat. Thank you. Senator Chirangei, kindly go through your standing orders. You cannot come to the chair through combative ways. You cannot. You can only raise a point of order if the chair allows. And kindly, Senator Chirangei, kindly proceed, Senator Mungatana.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I was saying that the category of balancing the membership in terms of regional balance, Mr. Speaker, has been reached. Mr. Speaker, I want to urge this House. Mr. Speaker, I want to urge this House.
Senator Mungatana, have a seat. Senator Chirangei, I want to refer you to Standing Order 121. 2. The Speaker may call a senator whose conduct is disorderly, which you are, to order, and A, caution the senator or order the senator to withdraw from the precincts of the Senate for the remainder of that day's sitting. I'm going to be lenient. I'm going to caution you, but you still proceed to take part in today's proceedings. Kindly, Senator Mungatana, proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, Senator Onyonka.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to first thank you, Mr. Speaker, for looking this way. Mr. Speaker, if you listen to the argument that Honorable Mungatana is making, he's actually giving a legitimization and an expression as to why he thinks we need to go and hold this exercise in committee. Already the presentation that has been made by none other than the majority leader, he said both options are on the table. I don't understand why he is arguing that according to him, the best way to conduct this exercise is through committee, and yet as members of the Senate, we must be allowed to vent and discuss this matter because we have issues which are outstanding. And I don't want to, Mr. Speaker, I don't want to be a rubber stamp on this exercise. Allow us to vent. Allow us to explain why we disagree with the majority leader. He may have his way, but allow us to have our way, our say.
Senator Onyonka,
Yes.
that is exactly what is happening now. Senator Mngatana has taken a position. He wants to persuade you
Yes.
to go the committee way. Let us allow Senator Mngatana to make his contribution.
Thank you, sir.
I'm afraid-
But I hope you will also allow us to make our case.
Senator Mngatana.
Mr. Speaker, as I take my seat, we have been told in submissions by previous speakers that what we are carrying out, Mr. Speaker, is a quasi-judicial function of this Senate. Mr. Speaker, every person who has appeared in a court of law
Honorable
knows.
senators, may Senator Mngatana be heard in silence, please.
Mr. Speaker, can I be protected from Senator Cherargei? He is deliberately doing this so that I don't get to persuade other people.
Senator Mngatana, proceed.
Much obliged.
If you have an intervention, you press, you don't shout.
Much obliged. Mr. Speaker, I'm making my last point before I sit. The process we are engaged in, Mr. Speaker, is not ordinary Senate seeking. Mr. Speaker, it is a quasi-judicial function. Mr. Speaker, any person who has been in court, you know, Mr. Speaker, because you also share a legal background, you know, Mr. Speaker, that people must be given an opportunity to be heard. They must be given an opportunity to present their case. They must be given an opportunity to say why they think those charges are right, and the other side to say why they think those charges are wrong. Mr. Speaker, I wonder if it is possible to do that where all of us are seated. Mr. Speaker, that is why traditionally in every court, you give an opportunity when there's only one person listening.
Senator Cherargei. Senator Cherargei.
Throw him out, Mr. Speaker. Throw him out. Throw him out. Throw him out.
Senator Cherargei. I'm afraid.
Go away, man.
I'm afraid.
He's behaving like a child.
This should serve as a final caution to you. In the next few minutes, if you don't conduct yourself in an orderly manner, I'm afraid you may have to watch these proceedings. Come outside. Proceed and conclude your contribution, Senator
Yes,
Mngatana.
Mr. Speaker, I was just saying that a quasi-judicial process means that we are almost behaving like judges where we are. And then when a judge is sitting, Mr. Speaker, it is a different situation. It is better when there are fewer of us than when we are many of us. Because when we are many of us, Mr. Speaker, the whole mood becomes different. That's when you have the Cherargeis and such people intervening, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm saying this, that if it is possible, Mr. Speaker,
Order members, Senator Mngatana,
Yes,
kindly retract.
I retract, Mr. Speaker. But I want to say, Mr. Speaker, normally, when people are so many in a group, it is not possible to get all the information that is necessary. So, Mr. Speaker, what I'm asking is this. Let us calm down. Let us have the opportunity to receive all this information through our colleagues. Mr. Speaker, we have trusted our colleagues to bring us information on bills regarding even the Constitution. Why not this one? Serious bills, Mr. Speaker, on money, on everything that pertains to our duties here. Mr. Speaker, I want to urge colleagues, let us trust our colleagues who are in this committee to do the right thing. They will bring the report, we will debate it, we can agree or disagree, but let us give them the opportunity to receive the evidence, to sit with experts, and to give us a proper report. Mr. Speaker, I support. Thank you.
Senator Ojenda, Prof.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, under Standing Order 81B1, this House may sit by way of a committee, a special committee, to determine a petition of the nature brought before this House for the removal of the governor of Meru County. Mr. Speaker, under Standing Order 81B2, this House may proceed by way of plenary. And the leader of majority this afternoon has been very particular, Mr. Speaker, because the charges that have been brought under the provisions of Article 181, and I think my Senator Omtata got it wrong, under Section 30.
What is your point of order, Senator Meru? Senator Ojenda.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I am listening to, and I would not have wished to disrupt the flow of thought of the good professor, but he's quoting an non-existent standing order. He's talking about 81, and it is not existent. 81 is the right to be heard. Okay, all right. Thank you, Speaker.
It's 08. Proceed, Prof. Just proceed.
I know my standing
proceed,
order.
Professor,
Yes,
proceed. I know you know your standing order. Just proceed.
Chairman of Wildlife and Land has not looked at the standing orders properly. Mr. Speaker, sir, under Order 80, Standing Order 81B2, this House may proceed by way of plenary. And Mr. Speaker, sir, an impeachment undertaken at times and or abuse of the Constitution has thresholds, Mr. Speaker, sir. And I am happy, Mr. Speaker, sir, that I am not in any committee or in the special committee because I've defended one impeachment successfully, the latest impeachment of Governor Abdullahi. We've defended him successfully in court, and the proceedings of this House were thrown out. I'm also lucky because I've proceeded before. I've defended another impeachment of Governor Waititu, and I was also involved in the impeachment of Governor Wambora. So I have a history of impeachments, but on the other side, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, the reason why members are protesting this afternoon is not because a choice of a committee under Standing Order 81B1 is not a good choice. No, I have told the leader of majority, Senator Aaron Cheriot, that it is not about the substance of the choices of people, of senators who are in the committee. No, it is not whether they've been former governors serving. That is not the question, Mr. Speaker, sir, is the process. And the process could have been righted by holding a kamukunji or some form of consultation so that members on either side are informed of who goes into the committee. It is not about who sits in the committee, Mr. Speaker, sir. And I think none of the members who have spoken this afternoon has spoken to the inappropriateness, for instance, of Senator Alwale sitting in the committee, no, or any other senator sitting in the committee, no. It is that neither the leader of minority, my learned brother, sitting right here, should have at least convened a Kamukunji, Mr. Speaker, sir. I believe the same for the other side. He should have convened a Kamukunji so that the names that would have found themselves in the Speaker, sir, in the order paper would have been names that at least we knew and that we are aware, Mr. Speaker, sir, that there will be a committee. I will not say, Mr. Speaker, sir, that either method is better. But a plenary, Mr. Speaker, sir, affords members and all members, including first-term members like myself and Okenyuri, Senator Okenyuri, who is also serving here for the first time, an opportunity to follow proceedings from an impartial front, Mr. Speaker, sir. I'm informed, Mr. Speaker, sir, that such a proceeding will afford all members an opportunity to listen to the accusations and not just to sit here and wait for a report to be tabled before the Senate. Senator Meru was sharing with me this morning and whispered to me that he would be happy to listen to this proceeding so that a fair impeachment, a fair process of removal under Section 33 of the County Government Act, Mr. Speaker, sir, and this process must be fair. This is the first time, Mr. Speaker, sir, that a woman is appearing before Senate for impeachment. Second time. I think there was Governor Anwar Guru in the last Senate, in the 12th Senate. And I believe, Mr. Speaker, sir, that the gender card or the gender question may not be the strongest card in the constitution of this committee. Though I believe, Mr. Speaker, sir, that a number of 5 for women and 6 for men would have been a fairer balance in this committee. And I speak for women, Mr. Speaker, sir. It is not just because I have been a gender teacher, Mr. Speaker, sir, but I speak to the question of some level of fairness or a feeling of fairness of both women and men who sit in the Senate. But I wish to remind Senator Gloria that, Mr. Speaker, sir, should we proceed by way of plenary, she will not have a right to vote at the end of the process. Should an impeachment be made? But at least it is fair, Mr. Speaker, sir, that this be an all-inclusive process. Ultimately, Mr. Speaker, sir, may I say this, Mr. Speaker, sir, that let us as Senate, whether we decide to go by way of committee or by way of plenary, have a process that is fair, that will give Governor Kawira Mwangaza an opportunity to defend herself, so that finally, if she's found to have breached the Constitution or found not to have breached the Constitution, it will have been a fair process that would speak to what Senate will do from now and in the future. But, Mr. Speaker, sir, let me point to this. It is not about the 67 members of the County Assembly. And I'm informed, Mr. Speaker, sir, that out of those 67 members, at least 21 of those members are from the UDA party, and another 20 from the Mbas party. That means, Mr. Speaker, sir, that we are facing an impeachment for the first time where the governor serving in that county does not belong to any party because she's an independent. This is therefore a very delicate impeachment. It should not therefore be made to appear, Mr. Speaker, sir, that any singular party in the committee that this House forms is from the party that forms the majority in the county assembly, and from the party that therefore was instrumental in the impeachment. So as we form the committee, Mr. Speaker, sir, and this is, for me, this is, since I have no interest in this process, let the committee be a committee that would speak to the fairness of this process. If it is plenary, Mr. Speaker, sir, let the process be fair. That is all I will say with respect to this matter, Mr. Speaker, sir. Thank you.
Honorable Senators, notwithstanding the provisions of Standing Order 111, in view of the number of senators wishing to speak to this motion, may I propose, subject to your concurrence, that we limit the time per speaker. Currently, we are doing 20 minutes per speaker. And with the number that I'm seeing on the screen, we may go beyond midnight. So with your concurrence, can we limit the time from 20 minutes maybe to 5 minutes? Do I have your concurrence? Yes. So clerk, time 5 minutes per senator. Senator Cheptumo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this motion. Mr. Speaker, this special sitting is to achieve two things. One, to berate the charges preferred against the governor, which we have done. Two, is for this House to decide whether we will proceed through a special committee or the plenary. Mr. Speaker, this is the first impeachment in this parliament. And so the country is watching, the country is listening. And Mr. Speaker, our function under Article 96 of the Constitution to represent the counties and the county governments. This function today, Mr. Speaker, is in exercise of that particular article. But, Mr. Speaker, I want to support the committee way for a very simple reason, Mr. Speaker. If you look at the function of this committee or the plenary, is to investigate the matter. Mr. Speaker, what is to investigate? If you read the Oxford Dictionary, Mr. Speaker, investigate means carry out a systematic, formal inquiry to discover and examine the facts so as to establish the truth. Mr. Speaker, I want to put a question to my colleagues and to this House. If we quote a plenary way, Mr. Speaker, can the plenary, Mr. Speaker, be able to carry out a systematic and formal inquiry? The answer to that question, Mr. Speaker, in my view, is a big no. Will it be able to discover and examine the facts with the intention of knowing the truth? Again, Mr. Speaker, the answer is no. That can be achieved, Mr. Speaker, through a special committee, because they will have a moment, a time to inquire systematically, formally, and discover and examine the facts laid before the committee. Mr. Speaker, there are 7 judges preferred against the governor from the impeachment motion. It will be difficult, Mr. Speaker, for this House, using the definition of that aspect of investigation, to undertake that process and achieve a fair process, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it may be interesting for us to debate this House, Mr. Speaker, this matter. But remember, Mr. Speaker, our whole county is listening. Services and goods and services for the people of Meru County, Mr. Speaker. A Kenyan by the name of the governor is going through this situation. Mr. Speaker, this committee, if approved by the House, will be able to have a better time. Mr. Speaker, that is the reason why I support the committee way. Mr. Speaker, going committee way again does not prejudice members' right to again discuss this matter when the committee tables the report. So none of us, Mr. Speaker, will suffer prejudice of not being able to discuss this matter when the committee brings the report. What is only important, Mr. Speaker, in my view, is for the committee to be fair, to systematically and formally inquire into the issues in a fair manner. Mr. Speaker, this House is a special institution on matters devolution. So that, Mr. Speaker, after this impeachment process, should there be any other impeachment thereafter, Mr. Speaker, we should be seen as a House that is.
Senator Mwinyi Haji Mohamed Faki.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii kuchangia mswada wa kuchagua kamati maalumu ya kuchunguza madai yaliyoletwa katika bunge hili na kamati na bunge la kaunti ya Meru. Mheshimiwa Spika, kifungu cha 81 ya kanuni zetu kinasema kwamba bunge la Senate linaweza kwenda kwa njia ya bunge lote ama kwa njia ya kamati maalumu ya kuweza kuchunguza madai hayo. Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna ile tunaita umuhimu katika njia zote mbili katika kuchunguza swala hili. Na mpaka sasa nafikiri yaliyoletwa mbele ya bunge hili ni madai tu. Wakati bunge litakapokaa, makamati itakapokaa, ndio ule ushahidi kuthibitisha madai yale ndio ataweza kufikishwa mbele ya kamati ile ama bunge hili ili kuweza kuamua kama kweli mashtaka yana uzito ama hayana uzito. Kwa hivyo ningependa tu kusema kuwa si kweli kwamba bunge hili sio mahakama. Sasa itakaa kama mahakama kuweza kuchunguza ukweli wa madai ambayo yamewasilishwa na bunge la kaunti ya Meru. Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna uzito kuhusiana na madai ambayo yameletwa kwamba jinsia moja imepunjwa katika uteuzi wa komiti hii. Kuna uzito fulani Mheshimiwa Spika, na hatuwezi kuupuuza. Mheshimiwa Spika, pia ipo haja kwamba bunge hili, kwa kuwa ni bunge jipya na ni mara ya kwanza swala kama hili linafika katika bunge hili, ipo haja ya wabunge waweze kukaa wa kusikiza. Na nimeona leo japokuwa ni kamati maalumu, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni kikao maalumu, tumeweza kupata karibu full house. Kila senator ameweza kuacha kazi zake akaja katika kituo hichi, na nina imani kwamba iwapo itafanywa kwamba ni bunge zima likae kusikiza madai haya, bunge hili litaweza kuvunja kazi zao, waweze kukaa hapa kusikiza kuanzia mwanzo mpaka mwisho na uamuzi uweze kutolewa. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa kuweza kuwapa maseneta wapya fursa ya kuangalia masuala kama haya, ingekuwa bora, kwa kuwa hii ndio kesi ya kwanza tunasikiza katika masuala ya kuwachunguza magavana, wapewe fursa kupitia kwa kamati ya bunge zima kuweza kuchunguza swala hili, alafu uamuzi utakaotoka itakuwa ni funzo kwa wale ambao hawajapata fursa ya kuweza kuchunguza magavana kama hii. Mheshimiwa Spika, hiyo itakayofuata Mheshimiwa Spika, tunaweza kwenda katika kamati maalum, lakini kwa vile ni ya kwanza katika bunge hili, itakuwa bora tuichunguze kama bunge zima la Senate, ili kuhakikisha kwamba kila mtu ameweza kupata fursa ya kusikiza kesi ile. Wale ambao watakuwa wanalala, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni jukumu lao, kwa sababu hata sasa pia kuna wengine katika bunge hili wamelala, hawajui kitu gani kinachoendelea. Kwa hivyo swala kwamba baadhi ya maseneta watakuwa hawana hamu ya kusikiza ushahidi, hiyo ni singizio tunakuweza kukataa mfumo huu. Mheshimiwa Spika, vile vile pia hata katika kamati, sisi tunajua kamati zetu nyingi za Senate zikikaa katika vikao ni wachache wanaochangia masuala yaliyoko katika kamati. Kwa hivyo hiyo itakuwa sio mara ya kwanza kufanya hivyo, na tungeomba Mheshimiwa Spika kwamba kwa kuwa hii ni ya kwanza katika bunge hili, tungependa ifanyike katika kikao cha bunge zima ili tuweze kusoma wale ambao hawajaweza kufuata swala kama hili, nao pia waweze kupata ujuzi ama uzoefu wa masuala kama haya. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii.
Senator Boni.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, this parliament has a history. It has tradition
of handling emotive, sensitive issues. I want to remind colleagues that when Josiah Mwangi Kariuki was killed, the matter was handled in this very house by a committee. When Robert Ouko was killed, the matter was handled in this house by a committee. Mr. Speaker, when we are dealing with the greatest oversight role of this house, it is discharged through the Committee of Public Accounts and Committee of Public Investments, a committee. It is not by accident that such emotive issues are taken to committees. Today, we are making a decision whether the governor of Meru should be tried. She's on trial. She is on trial. Whether she should be tried in the committee of the whole or this special committee. Learning from the traditions, customs, and practices of this house, the natural thing would be we drink from the glass of wisdom of the members of parliament who came before us. Mr. Speaker, my second comment is that the people of Meru are anxiously waiting for what we are doing and the Republic of Kenya in its entirety. They are glued on the television sets. They want to see and are following what we are doing. They would like to find out, can these senators rise to the apex enough to be trusted, not with listening to the impeachment of a governor, but can they be trusted if a day was to come, God forbid, when they were to sit on the trial of removal of a president? This is what the dress rehearsal is about in the eyes of Kenyans. Mr. Speaker, sir, I kindly request colleagues that if what Senator Gloria has said is true, the person to blame is not us, the plenary. She has a leader of the majority who went through a process that informed him to take certain people on his side and others were left. Let her not bring it here. Same to the minority side. The matter is so important that we would be catwalking if we thought that today we are meeting to make a decision on gender. No. Mr. Speaker, you have read out the charges. Not the first, not the second. None of them is it about gender. It is about issues which we don't know about. Senator, just allow me to finish. I never objected to you. Hold my
Gloria,
time.
May the
I
Senator
appealed.
for Kakamega be heard is
Yes, I appeal to you. I know you have
Senator,
promised.
proceed. Don't start a debate.
Thank you. I know that she has promised that she wants to school me in matters gender. Really? Really? I was elected by over 250,000 people in Kakamega, men and women, and the women were the majority. So I know issues of gender. I have many children. The majority of them are girls.
Order,
I know matters
members.
of gender. Mr. Speaker, I have
Members.
got more than one wife. I know matters of gender. She can't
Can we
school
have
me.
some order?
Excuse me, my
Order,
daughter. You have to
order,
apologize
members.
to the bullfighter of Kakamega.
Order, members. To us,
My last point, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Senator Boni, to us, you're an honorable senator. We don't see you as a bullfighter. Kindly conclude.
Thank you. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I look at the 11 distinguished senators who have made their way on this committee. And Mr. Speaker, I single out Senator Mandago and Senator Ali Roba. If you are forming, Mr. Speaker, just 1 minute, my time was wasted. 1 minute, I conclude.
Senator Gloria, please allow the senator to conclude. Conclude, Senator. I'm afraid, Senator Boni, your time is spent. Senator Edwin Sifuna.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to also contribute to the motion. And for the record, I rise to support the motion that we proceed by way of committee. Mr. Speaker, as I understand the mandate of this committee and has been submitted by my colleagues, is to investigate and find out and report to this House whether indeed the matters, the allegations that you've read out against the governor are substantiated. So that, Mr. Speaker, all this committee is supposed to do, if the accusation is that there has been nepotism exercised by the governor, to report back to this House and say, yes, that allegation has been substantiated. On the question of illegal appointments, yes, it has been substantiated or not. Mr. Speaker, I would also want to encourage Senator Gloria to understand that, in fact, if you go percentage-wise, Mr. Speaker, percentage-wise, to have 3 women out of a committee of 11 is actually greater than to have 3 women out of 47 elected senators deciding on a matter. Because, Mr. Speaker, as you know, when it comes to the question of the vote,
Senator Gloria, what is your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, my point of order is that there are senators who are misleading the House on facts and on matters numbers. And Mr. Speaker, my point of order, even to Senator Boni Walale and to Senator Edwin Sifuna, is that you cannot come to Senate and actually institute discrimination by trying to convince this House that there is a formula that says that when you have less women at the table of representation, that is the formula that Kenyans should accept because it works best for gender. That is misleading the House. And this is not a matter about bullfighting or how many women or 3 against. This is a matter of representation. And Mr. Speaker, you should not allow the conversations that are going on in this House to continue, because this is a house of order. This is a house that respects women, and this is a house that is supposed to actually ensure that Governor Kawira gets a fair hearing. My point of order is that Senator Edwin Sifuna is misleading the House by trying to tell the House that the formula of 3 women senators against basically, out of 11, 3 women senators, that is the best formula to have women represented in this committee. Mr. Speaker, you can see why we have an issue with this. This is exactly the reason why we cannot entrust people who are actually disregarding women in this House. That is my point of order.
Senator Gloria, you cannot stand on a point of order.
It was
to
my
have
point
a second
of order.
Bite to the sharing. Kindly proceed and conclude. And please allow Senator Sifuna to recover his time.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am not a math teacher, but I will help the House. It is not misleading, Mr. Speaker, because you have the list of the number of women senators elected out of the 47 counties. We only know the senator from Nakuru, my sister from Machakos, and the good lady from Isiolo. What we are saying is, if you do a basic arithmetic, 3 out of 47 is smaller. It's actually 6%. Compared to 3 out of 11 is a bigger fraction. That's what I'm saying. But, Mr. Speaker, that being beside the point, let it be known that I'm not trying to mislead this House. I am a firm believer in equality, Mr. Speaker, that in fact, every woman has the same capacity to misconduct herself as the men. So, Mr. Speaker, this is not a question that should be viewed through the lenses of gender. What we want to do, whether we establish the committee or whether we proceed by the whole House, Mr. Speaker, is to find out indeed, is it true, the allegations that have been laid against the governor? In this particular question, we are supposed to be blind. Justice is blind. We do not see color, we do not see gender, we do not see ethnicity, Mr. Speaker. We are just looking at the allegations that have been leveled vis-a-vis, the law. Mr. Speaker, I am also a firm believer that in fact there is no grace period for misconduct. You know, the question of how long it should take before you start raising these questions has been raised in the public forum. I have seen people misconduct themselves even with the oath of office when they are taking oath of office, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, Mr. Speaker,
may the senator be heard in silence, please.
Thank you, Mr.
Senator
Speaker.
Gloria. Kindly
Mr.
proceed and conclude your contribution.
Mr. Speaker, therefore, what I want to encourage this House, because I was feeling the weight of responsibility as a person who's been proposed to sit on this committee, somebody who's supposed to miss Christmas with his family. But I can see the mood in the House is that maybe all of us should miss Christmas, which is okay for me. I don't have a problem. I am just saying, Mr. Speaker, that I wish I was not part of that committee, that it was Senator Gloria here sitting here to spend her Christmas here. But if you want us all to spend Christmas here, it is also okay, Mr. Speaker. So, in conclusion, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Gloria, we are not in some market in the outskirts of Nairobi. If you need to make a point of order, you press the button. It will be upon the chair to give you the platform or to deny you the platform. Kindly proceed.
Mr. Speaker, can I conclude? Because we were with you here, Mr. Speaker, just a few weeks ago when there were the Yala games going on. And it's a similar thing with the Christmas holidays, Mr. Speaker. We had problems raising quorum in this House, Mr. Speaker, if you remember, because most of the members chose to go to Juba. We are going to have the same problem. These people are just saying here, oh, we want the whole House, we want the whole House. But we know the members of this House who are committed to come and actually prosecute matters here, Mr. Speaker. So we might have better success. Mr. Speaker, I need your protection. Mr. Speaker, I need your protection. Because this is something we have experienced, Mr. Speaker. That in fact
Senator Sifuna, just take a seat. Honorable Senators, it is not the wish of the chair to send any senator out of these chambers. But that's my wish, and may not necessarily carry the day today. The standing orders will carry the day today. Senator Gloria, I'm cautioning you under Standing Order 121. Should you proceed in the manner you're proceeding, I'm afraid the standing orders may have their way. Conclude, Senator Sifuna.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The point that I was making, Mr. Speaker, is previous experience has shown that in fact we might get a lot more work and ground covered in committee than in plenary because of the issues that I have raised regarding the question of quorum. So, Mr. Speaker, to just conclude and allow my colleagues to also contribute, I rise to support this, and not because I'm a member of that committee. I would very happily cede this particular position to anybody else who wants to release me to go and have Christmas with my children. It will not be a bad thing, Mr. Speaker. I thank you.
Senator Meru.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I would first wish to state that I rise to support the motion of having 11 of us look at the evidence that has been brought by the County Assembly of Meru. And first and foremost, Mr. Speaker, I would really wish to state that all of us in this Senate, we enjoy the same space and the scope of duty. And I believe, having looked at the members who are there, I'm completely satisfied that they'll be able to take up on this job. I am particularly impressed, Mr. Speaker, that the Senate Business Committee and the Leader of Majority and Leader of Minority have given especially first-timers and young people an opportunity to serve in this committee. I have seen my colleagues, the Senator Karongo Adhangwa, I've seen Senator S.C. Okenyuri, I've seen Senator Eddie Gicheru, young people who are ambitious and they want to learn, and they will be able to tap into the experience that has been spoken about by my brother, Senator Agiduku. I hear by extension that Senator Sifuna is a young man. I don't know. I only hear that he's a young person. Although he does not appear to be what people impute, but anyway, I'll include him in that list of the young people because he's also coming in as a first-timer. Mr. Speaker, I would also wish to say this. In as far as we are looking at this matter, it is not really fair for anybody to impute that because the governor for Meru is a woman, they are supposed to be given special consideration. That the other time that the governor for another county who be a man is here, then he can be allowed to be dealt with by the Akina Medus, Akina Redama, Akina Charargeis of this world. There's no problem. But because this one is a woman, then we should treat her and put more women in it. Then I would say that the other time that we have a man, then probably men would demand that all of us would be in that committee so that we're able to also take care of the men. I am personally a gender-sensitive person. I do not need the schooling that was offered by our colleague. I actually did it from home. I'm a father of 3 girls and 1 boy. So I think the rest ones are just around my home. I'm able to look at and take care of them. Finally, Mr. Speaker, it is actually, and the Senator for Nairobi has spoken about it, it's actually that our colleagues are taking the burden off our shoulders. It is them that will be able to look at, and I've seen the charges, there are so many. They are supposed to look at all the charges one by one and look at the evidence that is being adduced one by one, and then they will be able to make a determination on whether the charges are correct or not correct, there are facts to it or no facts to it. And so our colleagues, the 11 that will be in that committee, I would wish to wish you all the best. It is quite unfortunate that you not be able to enjoy Christmas with your people, but it is the cost of service. That is why you run for positions. That is why you are allowed to serve as senators. I know the leader of majority has said that from the conduct, I don't know what lenses the leader of majority is using. He's saying that in his own preliminary observations, we may be getting more customers in the coming days. I would really hope that we do not get customers for the next 5 years, because the more customers we get, the more unstable our counties are getting. So, Mr. Speaker, I support. I wish the committee all the best. I will be here to help you and support you in whatever support you require. And I might actually offer to come as a friend of the committee, because I'm not. I'm just a neighbor. Nyandaro is just here. Thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Omtata.
Mr. Speaker, sir, thank you for the opportunity to address this honorable House. First and foremost, I would like to correct an impression created by Senator Halwale that this is a rehearsal for impeaching the president. It is not. Somebody's life and the consequences of an impeachment are not a rehearsal. Somebody is banned from public office for life. So please, this is not a rehearsal. This is a matter of life and death for the Senator of Meru, Governor of Meru. I am entertained. Now, secondly, so it's a matter of life for the Governor of Meru, and we should give it the seriousness it deserves. It's not a rehearsal.
What is your point of order, Senator Cheptumo?
Mr. Speaker, the Senator for Meru seated here, it is scaring for the member to say it is a matter of life and death for him. Mr. Speaker, this is a house of record. The Senator of Meru is not in any danger. Isn't it fair, Mr. Speaker, for him to withdraw that part of the... I think it's important.
Senator Omtata, kindly do not instill fear in your statement.
I think the Honorable Senator Cheptumo had taken a nap, because I withdrew and corrected. So he had taken a nap and he missed my withdrawal. But it's understandable, we are around Christmas. So, you are, Mr. Speaker, sir. I withdrew. Or may I say, Mr. Speaker, sir?
Cheptumo, may the senator be heard in silence, please.
For the benefit of my friend Cheptumo, I withdraw and apologize profusely to the Deputy Speaker. And to him for having missed out on what I said earlier. So when I proceed, Honorable Speaker, I think the problem we are having in this House is that the text of Standing Order number 80, clause 1B, and I think Professor Ojenda touched on it. What is disturbing some of us is the process being called into this House to endorse a list. What I would suppose, and that's why I'm opposing this motion partially, that list should be trashed, and the Senate by resolution makes the list if we have to go the committee way. I agree there's leadership in the House, but then they doesn't say the leadership of the House shall. It says the Senate shall. You may be having a practice that has been going against the standing orders, and they should end here. Secondly, yes, niko kwa chamba mtu mmoja, lakini ni chama.
Senator, just proceed and make your contribution.
So, my Lord, your Mr. Speaker, sir, if I conclude, the committee process, much as it has been praised here, we have the evidence of what happened in the impeachment of Governor Kawira. And
Senators, can we hear Senator Mtata in silence, please? Proceed.
And there were heavy complaints that the committee process did not work. In the Sonko impeachment, the committee was abandoned. It came back to the plenary. So I would really say that we should be allowed under order number 38 to have a small break where we can have a kamkunji and then we agree on the way forward. So I'm requesting that under order 38, we be given a kamkunji.
The request is declined. Senator Sigei Hillary.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I also rise to support this motion, and for very few but very important reasons. Mr. Speaker, we have heard from the people who have spoken to the reasons as to why we go for the committee or for the plenary. And as I do that, Mr. Speaker, I want to dissuade the House from the notion that while the majority leader and the minority leader was asking the House to support the motion, they played to the mind of the fact that plenary might not necessarily be able to do a detailed discussion on the matter. I am aware that the whole House comprised of senators who are competent enough. They can read, they can write, they can analyze, they can synthesize the issues as per the charges which you read before the floor of the House today. That, however, Mr. Speaker, cannot be deemed to be the reason as to why we would go for committee or the plenary. I want to support the committee for the reason that out of experience, there is much that can be done by 11 people and not by 47 people or 67 senators. The 11 members who have been selected by the House leadership comprise competent women and men who will be able to distill on the charges that has been placed before the House. And Mr. Speaker, ultimately, it is not in the place of the committee to make decisions on behalf of the plenary. I think it should not be lost on us that at the end of the session that the committee that has been selected have debated and come up with a report, it is the plenary that will make a decision on the basis of the report that that committee will have presented before the House. Mr. Speaker, as I support further, for purposes of the comfort of the women senators here, I would equally like to bring to the attention of the Honorable Senator Gloria Orwoba that the women and men in this House are all equal. We cannot speak on one side hot and cold, saying that we're equal, and on the other side saying the lesser the number, we are unable to advance the interest of the other gender. I am convinced that the team that has been picked has not necessarily been picked on the basis of the gender. They have been picked because they are senators, they are qualified, they are members of this House, and they are able to prosecute the issue that is before the Senate. And for her comfort, therefore, the 3 members of the committee are competent enough, and they will be taking the issue beyond the gender. They'll be discussing the issue beyond the gender of either themselves or the candidate who is the governor of the county of Meru. If, Mr. Speaker, we take our emotions beyond the issues which we are supposed to discuss, we will, as a matter of fact, forget about the charges and deal with whether it is a woman or a man. Mr. Speaker, I support the setting up of the committee because at the end of it all, we will, as a House, pass at the plenary the report, discuss it, comment on it, whether they have met the threshold or not. And Mr. Speaker, the choice that the leadership made was not plucked from nowhere. It is provided for in the standing orders of this House, and that choice has been given for the reason that it is better because the people of Meru, the country, is looking up to this House to make a just decision on the charges that have been brought against the governor of Meru. And Mr. Speaker, I support the motion. I thank you.
Senator Kenyo.
Asante Bwana Spika. Kwanza kabisa nataka kushukuru kwa kunipa fursa hii. Na mimi nasimama kuunga mkono ya kwamba tuende kutumia kamati. Kisa na maana Bwana Spika ni kwa sababu kamati itaweza kuangazia shutuma ambazo zimewekwa dhidi ya yule governor, wataziangazia kwa undani. Kwa sababu sisi maseneta wote tu wakati mimi nimekuwa hapa kuanzia mhula uliopita. Na Bwana Spika, wakati tulifanya hii impeachment kwa njia ya kamati nzima, kwa njia ya seneti nzima, hatukuweza kuangazia yale maswala kwa kindani Bwana Spika. Kwa hivyo siku ya leo Bwana Spika, mimi nataka kuunga mkono kamati kwa sababu wale walio katika kamati ile ni watu ambao ni wazoefu katika kazi zao. Ukiangalia kama magavana walioko, uangalie gavana Mandago, sasa ni senator. Uangalie gavana Roba, hawa ni watu ambao walibombea katika ile kazi ya ugavana. Kwa hivyo masuala yatakayokuwa yakiongewa pale wataweza kuyafahamu kwa undani kabisa. Angalia maseneta wa kike ambao nimesikia hapa kukiwa na vurugu kidogo, maseneta wa kike hawakujumuishwa. Bwana Spika, huu itaonekana sisi hatufahamu mambo vizuri kwa sababu maseneta walio hapa wa kike wamejumuishwa. Angalia Senator Tobiko amewekwa pale na yeye ni mzoefu, amekuwa katika siasa miaka mingi. Angalia tuna senator ambaye anaitwa Esther. Tuna Senator Kavindu Bwana Spika. Wale ni watu ambao wataweza kuyachanganua haya maswala. Mambo ya kuambiwa kwamba kutakuwa na mambo ya kuangalia jinsia. Hatutakuwa kukiangaliwa jinsia. Tutaangalia yale tuhuma zilizoletwa za yule governor. Na yale mambo yatakayoangaliwa na viongozi hawa watakuwa wakiangalia kwa kindani na kipana. Watu wa Meru wangelitaka nini Bwana Spika? kwa sababu watu wa Meru ndio waliofanya uchaguzi ule. Lakini baada ya haya masomo yote, Bwana Spika, kuangaliwa, sisi kama bunge tutaitwa wote tuweze kusema ya kwamba haya maswala yaangaliwa kivipi, na kwa sababu tuna jukumu lingine tutapatwa fursa ya kuweza kuangalia ikiwa hii kamati yenyewe itaona kuna mambo ambayo kutakuwa na dosari fulani ama kuna tuhuma moja ambayo wameona ni mbaya. Nina hakika tukiwa na Senator Sifuna ambaye najua ni mzoefu wa mambo ya kisheria. Ninaona kuna vijana, ukiangalia kama kuna Kechi na Kamau. Hawa ni watu, Bwana Spika, sijui ni kwa nini mtu yeyote, maseneta wote walio hapa, pengine kile ambacho wangetaka, kwa sababu ndio nimewasikiza wengine wanasema ya kwamba ati ikifanywa ile impeachment ikifanywa katika jumba hili, tukifanya tukiwa wote, ati ya kwamba tutajua maswala yanavyoendelea. Bwana Spika, hakuna jambo linafanywa katika seneti, katika kamati bila kuandika. Hawa ndugu zetu wataandika yote ambayo wamesema na yale ambayo wamefanya. Na kwa sababu wanaseneta wote hapa ni wasomi, Bwana Spika, mimi najua wataweza kusoma na kujua, watasoma hata zaidi. Lakini kile kimenistua, Bwana Spika, ni kwamba nimemsikiza seneta wa kutoka Busia, Bwana Spika. Seneta wa kutoka Busia anataka kuleta matata, Bwana Spika, akiwa ni seneta Mtata, kwa sababu ameleta mambo mengine mapi ambayo anataka kutuelekeza, kutuambia kwanza tusimame shughuli za bunge, tufanye mikutano ya Kamukunji na maandamano, Bwana Spika. Hatutaki mambo kama hayo sisi siku ya leo, Bwana Spika. Tunamaliza hii shughuli, pengine kama kutakuwa na Kamukunji ni baada ya masaa yaliyowekwa katika seneti hii. Lakini kutuambia tutoke kando, kutufanye hiyo, Bwana Spika, atakuwa akiongoza seneti hii katika shughuli ambazo sisi hatujazizoea. Lakini namkubalia kwa sababu pengine ndio anajifunza mambo ya seneti, amekuwa akishughulika katika koti. Mimi yeye na samahani kwake, Bwana Spika, hata nimesikia akikuita jaji, wewe ni Bwana Spika. Asante, Bwana Spika.
Wambua.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to make a comment and contribute to this motion. And from the word go, Mr. Speaker, I want to state emphatically that I support the motion. Number two, Mr. Speaker, I'll be very brief, is to congratulate the members that have been appointed to sit in the committee. When you look at the names that have been floated by both the majority and the minority leaders, the Speaker, the names of people that are very, very competent in very, very many fields. And it is always good, Mr. Speaker, that when you're dealing with a matter as a Senate, it's always important to look at individual competencies of members that you appoint to committees so that they can bring some expertise and institutional memory into the matter under discussion. Next time, Mr. Speaker, there will be an issue to deal with the media. I want to advise the leadership on both sides to consider including Senator Enoch Wambua in that list, because I am a journalist of long and good standing. It is well to say that to have two former governors in this committee brings on board expertise on matters governance. And the issues being challenged here are issues to do with governance. Not many of us here have been governors, Mr. Speaker. It's a privilege for this Senate to have Senator Roba and Senator Madago seated here as former governors, because when there are issues of governance, then they come in not just as senators, but as resource persons on matters governance. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, on the issue of procedure, because I think that's where I see some bit of deviation between those who support and those who don't support. The Speaker, I will invite us, all of us, including myself, to honestly and seriously study and understand the third schedule of our own standing orders. dealing with matters of the removal of a governor by way of impeachment. The Speaker, that schedule is very, very explicit. It has two parts. There is a part that deals with using the plenary way of impeachment. And if you allow me, the Speaker, to make reference, Rule 28 of that schedule. It states very clearly that except as otherwise provided in these rules, or as a Speaker may, for exceptional reasons to be stated, determine, the proceedings of the Senate for the hearing of evidence shall be held in public. The Speaker, that is on the first part that deals with plenary. On the second part that deals with the select committee, rule number 29. The proceedings of the committee of the hearing of evidence shall be held in public. So there is no jeopardy suffered anywhere, whether we go plenary or we go the committee way. On the issue of the names, the specifics of the names, the Speaker, there are only 11 slots. It is not possible that we go the plenary, the committee way, and every senator is a member of that committee. There has to be 11 senators who will be members of the committee, and the rest of us will sit back and receive the report from our colleagues. We will have an opportunity to speak to that report. The Speaker, it is important that as we debate the way to go, we are properly guided by our own standing orders, so that we don't even create wrong impressions that perhaps we don't really understand.
Senator Joyce. Senator Joyce.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Allow me to support the motion that has been brought by the able majority leader on the issue of choosing the way to proceed to the trials of the impeachment of governor from Meru County. Honorable Speaker, I've heard my colleagues debate and share a number of experience. And I want to say this, Honorable Speaker, that the reason why we support the committee is because, Speaker, despite the fact that the list has been named, any member from this House is not denied or restricted to go and follow the proceedings of that particular committee. Honorable Speaker, I also want to say that it is good as at now that the Senate is fully constituted. We have former MCS, we have former speakers, we have former governors, and I want to say that the list that has been brought up by either the majority or minority is a list that it consists of members who are competent enough to assist us in terms of bringing up a report that can be tabled in this House and can allow members to ventilate on it and have a conclusion. Otherwise, Honorable Speaker, I just want to say that the honorable members of the County Assembly have a right to do the oversight role, and that is why they have done whatever they have done. The honorable governor has a right also to be heard. The members or the public, or the members of the public from the Meru County have a right to be served, Honorable Speaker. So the whole House that can assist them to be able to get the right service and to be able to have everyone play his role or her role is through the Senate, Honorable Speaker. So I don't want to say much, but I just want to say, Honorable Speaker, we support the way, the committee way, to be able to start this trial. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Onyonka.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to, excuse me, I'm having a flu, so my voice is not very good. I would like to say just a few words in my contribution to this matter. And the reason for that is that the expectation of Kenyans on this matter is very high. And the reason for that is that this is going to be the first impeachment motion that is going to be tabled on the floor of this House, or rather tabled at the Senate. What I would wish for is that we take the evidence as it will come and we analyze it effectively, honestly, and with fairness, Mr. Speaker, so that the presentations that will be made should be a reflection of fairness and should be a reflection of the true issues that have happened in Meru. Because indeed, Mr. Speaker, what you see actually happening in Meru is not that it's not happening in other areas. There are certain substantive issues that have come up in some of the county governments. But indeed, when you look at the 47 counties, I would say out of the 47, maybe 3 or 4 could be having a problem. Mr. Speaker, I don't have a problem at all having the committee that has been selected so that they can then interrogate this issue effectively and make sure that we come to the conclusion of this matter fairly, where Governor Kawira is handled with dignity and decency, and where also the members of the county assembly, because their responsibility is to oversight the governor. Mr. Speaker, the other issue I wanted to raise is that we have borrowed heavily from the American system. If you look at what happened when Donald Trump as president was being impeached, it was the whole House that actually discussed him, that actually tabled the evidence, and that put that evidence on the floor, and the members then of Congress had to vote to decide whether he was guilty or not. When you come to the issue of January the 6th, then there was a deliberate attempt to create a committee. The reason for that is that the committee had to have expertise, the committee had to have people who are going to analyze the issue point by point to make sure that the matter that was going to be discussed didn't get lost. I actually was going to be against this motion, Mr. Speaker. I would like to say that for now, I want to support the motion. I hope that whatever deliberations you have at the committee level, make sure that those deliberations are fair, and make sure that the people of Meru get what they deserve, including my able senator, the Deputy Speaker of this House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Chiranke.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. One is that I rise to oppose this motion, Mr. Speaker, on 3 facts. History will judge us harshly. All impeachment proceedings that have gone to committee have become negative. They have become like laundry processes where governors who accusations are faced have come back. And many people are not correcting this, Mr. Speaker. I want, for the benefit of new members, if the committee sits and they find out that the charges are negative, that matter rests there. So I want to advise my colleagues who are excited that this matter will come back and they'll have a second bite of the cherry. They are not lucky. Mr. Speaker, when you look at Section 33 and Standing Order number 80, the issues that have been raised by Meru, MCS, Mr. Speaker, and other stakeholders is a weighty matter, Mr. Speaker. I want each and every senator, we sit in plenary. It becomes a learning process. We question. Mr. Speaker, the impression that we are creating outside there is that 11 are better than 67, which is not the position. Because, Mr. Speaker, in that plenary session, you will be the one presiding over. Unless we are casting aspersion outside the 11 members by saying the 11 members are better than others, Mr. Speaker. Number 2, Mr. Speaker, because I'll only make 3 points. The selection process, there was no consultation. When Jubilee was in power, we fought the same thing at that time. because people were being elected, selected, and there was no consultation. What happened? It became very bad. And I want to ask my brother, Senator Eddie, don't travel this part. It is very costly and slippery, as the Bible says. Mr. Speaker, number 4 is when you look at section 33. Unless, I've had people saying, I don't have a problem with my colleagues, my brother, Senator Mandago and Senator Roba. They are qualified. Unless you are telling us who are former butchers that we are not qualified to sit simply because we were selling meat. We were butchers in Mosoria Trading Center. We are not qualified to sit there. These members, including my sister, Senator Crystal, can sit in that committee. Mr. Speaker, this is a travesty of injustice. And my worry, the people of Meru shall not receive justice. Either Meru will hang on the strings of guitar, or in the words of Beyond Politics, a conversation with Craig Murungi, who described the accused as a political fraud, both religion and political. Number 3, or we give them the skunk the way they came with it. But as a Senate, as we protect devolution, how can we tell the nation we are protecting devolution when we have relegated our role to 11 people because we simply want to go for Christmas? Mr. Speaker, history will judge us harshly. I have no problem. All these people are competent. But the process on how it was arrived.
What is your point of order, Senator
I hope
Joyce?
you will hold my time, Mr. Speaker.
What is your point of order, Senator Joyce?
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I just wanted to know whether the Honorable is in order to mislead this House that unless their names are in the list, that is when they can talk of having the committee transact the trials. Because he is alleging that because he was a butcher, he is not in the list. Is he in order, Honorable Speaker?
Chirangay, is it true that you are a butcher before you made it here?
Mr. Speaker,
conclude, please.
Some of us who come from harsh background, we had to do everything to survive. And with tremendous respect to my sister, I don't want to respond along that line. My concern is this. Let us stand with the people of Meru. I want Governor Kawira, Mwangaza receive justice. I want the people of Meru to receive justice. I want MCS to receive justice. But Mr. Speaker, if we allow this motion to pass, this will be the greatest injustice that will ever be presided at the inaugural stages of this Senate, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, we don't have a doubt. Then in future, anything that concerns counties, we should send the former governors to go and do it. And then we go and sleep. We go and sleep, Mr. Speaker, if that is the situation. Because even you, Mr. Speaker, you should have sat in that committee. Mr. Speaker, they refer to former governors.
What is your point of order, Senator Roba?
Hold my time.
Is it in order, Senator Cherargei, to make a statement? We are here in our capacity as popularly elected, constitutionally mandated senators to execute the functions of Senate as so required by law. Is it in order by Senator Cherargei for him to make any reference contrary to that by way of saying in future we will delegate mandates to former governors to do? We are here in substantive capacity as a senator, just like you, mandated legally, just like you, to execute our mandates legally, just like you. Is it in order? Thank you.
Mr. Chirangay, I know you've been in this House. You should be serving your second term. And you must be familiar with the basic standing orders, that when a member rises on a point of order, you yield, you sit down. It's very express in the standing orders. So kindly abide by the rules.
My apologies, Mr. Speaker.
On the point of order,
yes.
Indeed, to that extent, you're out of order. Kindly retract that statement and proceed.
Mr. Speaker, I don't want to give credit and contempt to what Senator Roba has said. In conclusion, it is always good to stand
Senator
when you are on the right, to always,
Senator
even it means...
Chirange,
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
you've made a statement
Yes.
to the extent that in future, any matters touching on counties, we can as well just send governors, former governors. It is that statement that you need to retract.
Okay. Mr. Speaker, I think it is a fact that there are former governors who are senators in this House. And I said maybe. It doesn't mean that they can never be in any committee. I didn't say they shall be, Mr. Speaker. So I think the answer should bear me.
Senator Wamatinga and Senator Chirange, with that way of prosecuting business, you will be finding yourself not in the best position going forward. I am not threatening you. I am telling you as the chair, I'm cautioning you, a power that has been given to me by the standing orders. Senator Wamatinga.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir. I stand to support the motion. Mr. Speaker, sir, let me start by saying that whenever I close that bar, or any other senator closes that bar, I do not look at them in terms of gender. I look at them like honorable members of this House. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm a businessman, and I know where we have organizational structures. I know where you delegate responsibilities, and I do also understand the efficiency of managing most of the most complex matters are better dealt with by selected team which is dedicated to doing that. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm also alive to the fact that most of the businesses in this House are conducted through committees. The fact that the minority and the majority leader found it fit to constitute an 11-member committee composed of both ranking and new members, I find it very, very commendable. However, Mr. Speaker, sir, I must also say this. As a new member of this House, Mr. Speaker, at times I find that the standing orders that comes really interprets the flow of thought of the members, and some of us who are new here, they will actually feel intimidated, especially when ranking members have to keep on lacing the point of orders.
What is your point of order, Senator Eddie?
Mr. Speaker, I don't know whether you've just noticed Senator Cherargei crossing the floor without honoring the simple orders of this House and not bowing to the Speaker. It's so irritating.
Senator Chirange, have your seat. You're very lucky that the chair did not notice that. But going forward, Senator Chirange, you're becoming a habitual disorderly senator. But a time will come when I may have to ask you to leave the chambers. The next time I rise on my feet to address you, I'll be sending you out of the chambers. Kindly proceed, Senator Wamatinga.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir. That's exactly why I think going the committee way would actually be the most efficient way of doing this, because some members, without wanting to refer to any senator, have become habitual disturbers that they'll never let anybody finish anything, which is actually quite unfortunate. What I was saying, Mr. Speaker, sir, in business world, why we form special teams is because you want to be efficient, you want to be thorough. It would be almost impossible, Mr. Speaker, sir, to peruse all the documents there as a plenary here. I think the questions that will arise, Mr. Speaker, sir, will take ages to complete. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, sir, this process is time-bound. There is time after which it must be finished. That will not be possible, Mr. Speaker, sir, if we go the committee way. Finally, Mr. Speaker, sir, I would want to urge the House, as it has been said before, nobody is locked out from attending any proceedings of the committee. If you are so passionate about following the proceedings or being part of it, then I think it is still open to go and be a part of the 11-member committee without actually assuming that if your name misses on the list, then we do not stand a chance of delivering what would be fair. Mr. Speaker, to also give our input depending on the findings. I therefore think that it would, for the sake of time, and this being Christmas period where most of us will be engaged elsewhere, I think it is best we go the committee way so that they can dedicate the time and the resources that are required so that they can come up with the findings within the required time. I therefore stand to support. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Osotsi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to also raise my voice on this motion. Mr. Speaker, I was very sympathetic to the Cherengei group, but you know, he gave up very fast. And now I can see many of the members who have reason to speak are in support of the committee option. So I also support the committee option, but allow me to make a few comments on the merits of the committee of the whole House. Mr. Speaker, as it was pointed out by Senator Onyonka, that this would have been an opportunity for the new senators to get to understand how the process works if we did a committee of the whole House. So I'm sure maybe they can attend the committee sessions as friends of the committee and learn. Mr. Speaker, also, I've looked at various democratic jurisdictions where impeachment processes are conducted by the committee of the whole. Like in the US, a Senate of 100 members sitting and conducting an impeachment process and doing it so thoroughly, I think it's something that this Senate will have to learn to do so that in future, when we have a committee of the whole House, we are able to do a neat job without having to subject the process just to a few members who can do it. Thirdly, Mr. Speaker, I think we also need to relook at our standing orders because, you know, impeachment is a very important accountability and oversight tool that we use to provide checks and balances in our counties. And I've looked at the names proposed. And the member, the senator for Meru, is not included among the members. We have developed a tradition where whenever we engage our county governors, the member for that area is invited. For example, in our park and peak committee meetings, they are always invited to come and hear because they understand the issues better and they can interrogate, they can guide the other members. So I think it's something we need to look at so that we do not have senators discussing your governor and you are not represented. So I think you should be given a choice whether you want to not to participate or you want to be a member. So it is very important for that consideration to be put in place. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, I think the committee should do a thorough job, given that this particular impeachment is a unique one. Unique because it is an impeachment that has come 112 days later. And I know the proposed bill on impeachment procedure bill proposes that at least we need a longer period before an impeachment of a governor is brought before us. So this is a very, very unique impeachment, and I think the committee should do justice to the people of Meru and to this House by bringing a report
that makes sense legally, and a report that we can easily support as a Senate. I think a Senate before. Mr. Speaker, you are aware, we have had the impeachment motion that this House has passed, which have been challenged in court. The recent one being the impeachment of the governor of Wajir, who ended up finishing his term because of the gaps in the impeachment process that we had. So the committee, you have an obligation to do a thorough job, and a job that we will all support because it will be strictly within the law. So for those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I belatedly support the formation of a select committee of 11 people, and I encourage maybe in future we should do more bipartisan process on such a matter so that we don't have contestations on the floor of the House on a simple matter that we would have taken a very short time, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Senators, we are not doing very well time-wise, and I can still see at the dashboard here that we still have a number of senators who still want to speak to this motion. With your concurrence again, can we reduce the time to 2 minutes? Yes. So that we don't shut, because at some point we may have to shut some of you, and I don't think that's, I think 2 minutes. Do I have your concurrence? Yes. Good. Senator Kathuri Murungi. Senator Murungi.
Yeah, paper 5. You should have closed that. Okay, so we maybe I wait.
So I think Senator Murungi, this matter having emanated from your county, you should be the last to speak. All right. Senator Siango.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I rise to oppose the motion for the following reasons. I have no problem with the membership of the committee, but the question is, how was the composition arrived at, the membership arrived at? Why was there no Kamukunji so that we may know who is to go to that committee? I oppose the motion. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, sir, the Senate exists to protect devolution. And as one member has already alluded, this impeachment of Meru Governor Kawira Mwangaza is unique in the fact that it has taken too short a time for her to be impeached. And this is denying Meru people service. Mr. Speaker, sir, allow me to say that actually the composition of the committee having more men than women is not accepted. We say nothing for us without us. Nothing for us without us. There is a popular saying, Mr. Speaker, sir, that says if the hyena is the judge, then the goat has no justice or cannot get justice. Fisi akiwa hakimu, mbuzi ana haki. Yes.
Senator
Mr.
Siang.
Speaker, sir, allow me to correct.
Senator Siang, choose your language. You started with English, kindly proceed in English and finish in English.
Thank you, sir. I stand guided. So the interpretation or the translation of what I said is that if the hyena is the judge, then a goat.
Senator Nyutu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to make my very first contribution. I must say that when I came to this house today, I was in support of the committee of the whole for the reasons that two heads are better than one. in that every senator here maybe could have been able to make a good contribution. Noting also that we have the committee of the whole or the special committee will have only 10 days to deliver. I also came thinking that the whole house would have been better because the task ahead would have been shared and therefore making the job much easier, and the time factor would then have been much better. Mr. Speaker, from the history of this House, the impeachments that have been had or been brought before this House, I have not found any particular member that was able to convince me that the committee of the whole did a shoddy job. But Mr. Speaker, just like that suitor who convinces would-be bride, I think I am convinced that a committee, a special committee, will do a good job, especially during this time of Christmas. And so, Mr. Speaker, I am now convinced by those that support the motion. I support. Thank you very much.
Senator Kamar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to add my voice to this debate. Mr. Speaker, for me first, there is no difference between plenary and the committee. For one reason, we need to be fair to the people of Meru, we need to be just to the people of this country, and we need to do a clean job. I was listening to the debate and it was like we are giving the country an impression that the members of the committee will not do a good job. I think that is one thing that we need to start avoiding, because if we give the impression that committees will not do a good job, it's different. I agree with the fact that we needed to have done a kamukunji, Mr. Speaker. It helps to ventilate. It helps for members to give their views that early. But, Mr. Speaker, lastly, I just want to mention the fact that the issue of gender is a very important thing. And it would have been very fair to increase the numbers of ladies, because there are issues. This lady, Honorable Her Excellency, the Governor, has been judged by the public. And she needs the comfort of that committee. She needs to trust the committee herself. And that's why I was so worried when we started derailing and moving to debate Gloria instead of debating which committee, whether we are going for committee or not. It's very important. The issue is about Kawira. We need to be fair to her as much as we need to be fair to the people of Meru, and as much as we need to be fair to the MCAs who have issues. And we must be trusted as a Senate. And for us to be trusted, I want to challenge the members of the committee that have been nominated, that they must come out. If we go the direction of the committee, which it looks like we are going, we must be seen to be just, we must be seen to be truthful, and we must be seen to be honest. Kawira.
Senator Abbas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm cognizant of every senator in this House is competent enough. I think the whole day was competency. I have no problem with the committee, but however, the paragraph before the names says that the Senate has resolved. This Senate is still debating and we have not resolved it. I think in the future you have to correct that one. Two, Mr. Speaker, this business is coming under the devolution. The chairman devolution is not included. We have been given responsibility, everybody is given responsibility as a standing committee for every committee, standing committee in this Senate. However, the Senate, the chairman of devolution is excluded in this committee. And I think in future, this should be corrected. The chairman must be respected on the undercuts, and they must be consulted on this issue. Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Speaker.
Senator Okenyuri.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. I also rise to support this motion, and especially agree with my colleague, Senator Wambua,
that the committee route will give us a more detailed approach, because then we'll benefit from expert opinion. But if we allow the plenary route, it's gonna be like a market where everyone has leeway to give their point, not holding into account what the expert opinion is. I also have an opportunity to participate as a newly joining in member. I want to appreciate the opportunity to be considered in that select committee, and also promise to really give justice that is needed and be fair in this due process. So, Mr. Speaker, I think the committee is the right way to go, not because I'm a beneficiary. I also think as a young person, and my region is factored. It's not being a woman. I'm a leader in this house. It's not, for me, that's how I look at it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Okanyuri, this house, whether it goes the plenary way or not, can never be a market. It always be an honorable house. Senator Tobiko Paris.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the motion. Mr. Speaker, the standing orders of this House allow both ways, or either of the routes, whether it's plenary or the committee, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, and so the House could go in any direction, Mr. Speaker. But Mr. Speaker, let me address one particular issue that has really come up in this whole debate, the gender issue, Mr. Speaker. And I would want to urge my sisters, honorable senators who are here, that even if we feel compelled to speak for the good lady governor of Meru, we must do it in a shrewd manner, because the Bible tells us to be shrewd. We neither have the numbers, neither do we have the vote. So we must do it in a way that we bring the elected male senators on board to agree with us if we have strong points that would save the lady governor. But Mr. Speaker, I would also say that for the committee and those who have been bestowed with the responsibility of being in this committee, it's a huge responsibility, Mr. Speaker. And I was asking myself, this may actually put some of us in a precarious situation, because it will set precedents. I am imagining, I am seated there as a committee member that possibly may agree with the impeachment of the governor of Meru, and tomorrow I am a lady who will be aspiring to be a governor in 2027 in a county. So I would want justice to
Honorable Senator Karungo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. As I rise to support this motion, it's good to inform the House, yes, I am one of the nominated member to be in this committee, but I would support such a route whether I'm in this committee or not in this committee. Mr. Speaker, I've heard people say that if we go the committee way, it's going to be held away from the public. That is not right, Mr. Speaker, and every senator is allowed to appear in that committee, and they can as well contribute through the membership of that committee, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's also wrong to discuss the membership of this committee, saying some of them are governors or not governors. Mr. Speaker, whether we go the plenary way, the governors will be there. Whether we go the committee way, the governors will be there. So that is not supposed to be even entertained in this House, because we are all equal in this House. There is no virgins in the maternity, Mr. Speaker. We are all equal. We went the same process, and we are all senators in this House, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the issue is not about Kawira. It is the issue of the people of Meru, over 200,000 who voted for her, plus the whole of the county that she's now serving. So, Mr. Speaker, I think with the committee, we are going to investigate this matter and give justice to both Kawira and the people of Meru County. And Mr. Speaker, having had an experience of going through such a process, I believe I'm going to be an asset to this committee because I do understand what happens when it comes to such processes. And Mr. Speaker, because I support women, and I support women so much.
Senator Murgo.
Thank you very much, Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to also air my views in addition to my colleagues. I came in actually opposing the motion, but I've been persuaded by a few facts. One fact is that a few people will find facts more than a larger group. So that has persuaded me to go the small group. And also, a small group will also, is likely to be friendlier than a large group, because a large group is likely to be disorderly and just express themselves very differently. And then I look at people like Senator Tobigo and the others to be very mature, and therefore reasoning will be there rather than emotions. And therefore that will be good for the governor and also good for the county assembly people or MCAs, and then also for Meru people at large. Thank you. I support.
Senator Murango.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving this opportunity. And Mr. Speaker, after serious dialogue, discussion, and face-to-face with the majority leader, I support this motion. Mr. Speaker, when I look at the senators who have been put in this committee to look at this matter, I also can see a lot of experience in it. Mr. Speaker, starting with Dr. Halwale, who is a seasoned senator and has handled this matter before. We have the former Governor Jackson Mandago and Mr. Romba, Senator Romba. Karongo Dhangwa was a CC member at Kiambu at one time. We have Joseph Githuku who was an MCA in Ilamu. Mr. Speaker, having this combination, we have to have confidence that the committee will be able to carry out its mandate. But I also want to remind them that according to the County Government Act of 2012, Section 33, either they find the governor guilty or not guilty, this will, the full house will bear the brunt of their decision. So I'll call upon them to be honest on their findings and to make sure that the voice of the people will be the voice of the senators. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mandago.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this motion. Although initially, Mr. Speaker, the way the majority leader had put it, it was open for the Senate to decide either way. But Mr. Speaker, I want to say that the decision or the matter beforehand, Mr. Speaker, has nothing to do with gender. It's purely a matter of considering whether the decision that was reached by the County Assembly of Meru, the Senate is going to concur with them or disagree with them, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, it is not in order for the Honorable Senator Gloria to suggest that since the committee is made up of more male senators than the female senators, that the committee will not be biased, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in fact, in this country of recent past, Mr. Speaker, there seems to be a liking by women, Mr. Speaker, of the services being given by men, Mr. Speaker. A majority of women today, Mr. Speaker, if they go to the salon, they are actually looking for male saloonists. Mr. Speaker, even when they go for massage, they are looking for male masseuse, Mr. Speaker. It cannot be that when the male senators are going to discharge justice, Mr. Speaker, we are going to be unfair. Mr. Speaker, I want to commit that having been selected as a member of that committee, that we are going to be fair, just, and do the right thing, Mr. Speaker, because we know the decision of that committee will be the decision of the Senate, and we therefore want to commit that being a former governor or not does not make us biased in the decisions we are going to make, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I support.
Senator Hamida.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my thinking is, if we had a fair balance of the gender, when I talk about gender, I'm just talking about the balanced number. We are aspiring the 2/3 majority, and we cannot achieve if we don't start with the Senate. So actually, I want to support Senator Kamar, looking at the merit of the balance. But I believe, I trust the committee way would be the right way to trust, because of course not all of us, and I'm sure they'll make the right decision. But I am not happy, of course, with the balance of the numbers. So let's practice that, and this is the only way. Of course, being in the Senate, this is the opportunity to do it. But otherwise, I rise to support.
Senator Kavindu.
Asante Bwana Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii kusapoti mswada huu, kwa sababu Bwana Spika, ninaamini ya kwamba watu wachache wakijadiliana mambo na wakitizama mambo wana uwezo mkubwa kuliko watu wengi. Na hata kwa kazi, watu wengi sana unaweza kuwapa kazi, mfano tu, na upate wamefanya kazi kidogo sana, lakini upatie wachache na upate wamefanya kazi mzuri. Kwa hivyo Bwana Spika, na support, na ninasema vile nimeona hii kamiti vile imechaguliwa, nataka kuahidi seneta, hatutakuwa biased, maana niko pale ndani. Tutafanya kazi kwa uwazi na kwa usawa, tukijua sisi ni watetezi wa devolution, na sisi ni watetezi wa magavana, sisi ni watetezi wa wananchi na mambo yote yanayotendeka kwa county. Kwa hivyo hatutaegemea upande mmoja, tutaangalia usawa na tutafanya vizuri vile inatakikana. Tunawahakikishia hivyo. Asanteni.
Senator Miraj.
Mimi nasimama kuiunga mkono hoja ya majority leader ya kwamba tuende njia ya committee. Lakini pia vile niwezi kutoa changizo zangu kama mwakilishi maalum wa kike katika hii bunge la Senate. Tunazungumza mazungumzo na tunataka kuonesha ubabe, lakini lazima tuangalie nchi yetu inaelekea wapi kimisingi ya uwakilishi wa kike. Tumeambiwa kwamba sisi tuko hapa, na hata labda tungepata fursa ya kukaa katika hiyo committee, tusingekuwa na sauti ya kupiga kura. Na waambia kina mama wale ambao wanafuatilia hili bunge leo, waone na wajue ya kwamba hata kama ingekuwa kuna hoja za kijinsia katika haya malalamishi ambayo yameletwa ndani ya nyumba hii dhidi ya Governor Kawira, basi sisi kama kina mama tungekuwa na kura 3 pekee. Na waomba kina mama, sisi tunapokuja kuwaomba kura, hatuwaombi kura kwa sababu tunataka kukaa tu kwenye hii nyumba. Tunawaomba mtupe sauti na nguvu, ili wakati kama huu ukifika, tuweze kutoa sauti zetu. sio kwa sababu Kawira ni mwanamke, lakini kusimamia haki yake, kwa sababu yale maneno yamezungumzwa katika social media na yale ambayo yanaendelea katika vyombo vya habari, ni wazi ya kwamba ameshutumiwa kwa sababu ni mwanamke. Lakini kwa sababu niko hapa na nishaambiwa sitapiga kura, wacha niunge hoja ya wale wanawake ambao wamepata fursa na wale watatu ambao watakuwa katika hiyo kamati. Ni wasihi, msimuangalie kama mama, muangalieni kama mama ambaye alikwenda akapigiwa kura na wananchi, na muzilinde.
Senator Eddie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd intended not to speak on this matter, particularly because I am directly affected, especially given the emotion with which this conversation started. I did respect the fact that we are all equal senators, and every issue that senators do bring in this house are equally weighty, because people have got different interests and people have got different concerns. So I'm very humbled to register my thoughts on this matter. And the first one is just being grateful that with such a difficult task of making a judgment with regarding to this particular impeachment, going to do an examination of the question at hand, it is indeed a very serious task that I don't take lightly personally, and I believe that my colleagues who have been elected to be, who have been appointed to be in this committee or proposed, will take very seriously. But that said, I want to say that the motions that have been expressed in this House, Mr. Speaker, with regards to gender, are a serious issue that I want to invite us as a House to be considerate next time, that we try as much as possible to strive not only on issues that affect women, but also other issues that might be of this magnitude that we include women. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, I want to also invite the House to put our trust, because the question of process has been put in place, to put our trust in our leadership. Under Standing Orders number 22 and 23 that establishes both majority and minority leadership, we must actually trust them to be able to give us this kind of guidance. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, I look forward to engaging in this process.
Senator Mundegi.
Yangu ni kuunga mkono kamati ile itaenda kuangalia mambo ya Senator Kawira, Gavana Kawira. Ingawa hata Kawira mwenyewe tunamheshimu kama sisi wanaume, lakini pia hata yeye mwenyewe awe akipatia wanaume respect. Kwa sababu nakumbuka kitu ya kwanza, anavaa respect watu wa Meru, kwa sababu nakumbuka siku ile kulikuwa na sherehe kubwa ya rais wetu na deputy, sisi wote kama mimi nilitoka kilomita kama 500 kwenda kuona vile polisi inaenda kufanya huko Meru, lakini kwa sababu kulikuwa na mambo ilikuwa imetengenezwa na mtu mmoja ambaye alikuwa opponent wake, angeweza kuhudhuria hiyo. Kwa hivyo sasa nataka kukosoa senator kutoka Mombasa, ati sisi tuna respect akina mama, na akina mama hata wanafaa uwe wakitupatia respect. Kwa hiyo sasa tuko hapa, hatuko hapa kwa sababu ya mama ama papa, tuko hapa kama senator. Kwa hivyo ile kamati itaenda kuangalia, mpaka iangalie Kawira wakati alichaguliwa na watu wote, hakuchaguliwa kwa sababu ya watu ya independent ama gani, alichaguliwa juu ya leaders wote. Kwa hiyo mpaka awe na respect ya kupatia leaders wale wengine respect, ndio hata kama polisi ameitwa na nani anavaa akienda. Asante.
Honorable senators, from my dashboard, my dashboard is blank. Senator, yeah, he'll speak last. Senator Nduwati.
Mr. Speaker, sir, maybe the technicians need to check this because my button was on all this time. Mr. Speaker, sir, Standing Order 81B provides for the procedure to be adopted in the event of removal of a governor. Mr. Speaker, sir, it provides that the process can either be taken through plenary or by way of a select committee. Mr. Speaker, sir, in both of these two processes, none has been stated as being more superior than the other, meaning that a plenary should be as good as a select committee, Mr. Speaker, sir. In other words, Mr. Speaker, sir, if this function can be undertaken by the Senate, it can also be undertaken by the select committee. The standard of care required during the process will be the same both at the plenary and at the select committee level. Mr. Speaker, sir, I would wish to state, listening to the many submissions that have been made before the floor of this House, Mr. Speaker, sir, it is clear that there are some processes that may need to be improved. For instance, how committees are constituted, what is the level of percentage of gender, Mr. Speaker, sir, that can be improved for future processes. But Mr. Speaker, sir, without elongating my submissions, I would wish to support the motion that has been brought to the floor of this House by the majority leader, but to implore upon the select committee to undertake their duty with much care and without interference, and to see that looking at the heated debate that has emanated from the House, Mr. Speaker, sir, everybody will be watching. Both the governor needs a fair trial, the standard of proof.
At this juncture, we'll allow the Honorable Senator of Meru 5 minutes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. On the onset, Mr. Speaker, sir, I really want to thank you and the members of the Senate for breaking their holiday to come and listen to the cries of the Meru people. So on behalf of the Meru County residents and my very behalf, humbly receive our gratitude. The role of the Senate, Honorable Speaker, is to represent the counties. That is Article 96(1) of our Constitution. The Senate represents the counties and serves to protect the interests of the counties and their governments. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, the reason why these senators left their families, some even were outside the country, it is because they are really following the Constitution and they are really protecting and defending the Constitution. And Mr. Speaker, I wish that these impeachments don't come to this House. It's unfortunate that Meru County is the first county to be brought on this matter. And Mr. Speaker, my wish is that both the parties, that is the Meru County Assembly, the 67 members opening their signatures to impeach the governor will be listened to, and also the governor. I'll really request her this time to appear before the Senate, because last week, she did not appear before the County Assembly because she thought that there was a breach of the court order. But I really beg her also to appear before this committee, which will be maybe nominated today, so that also she can be heard, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this matter has come at a time that is not so good because we are in our festivities. And Mr. Speaker, due to the past experiences, sometimes it becomes difficult to get the requisite quorum because we need 15 senators so that we can present the plenary. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, you know, if we go this route, I am afraid that getting that quorum sometimes might be difficult. And we want this matter to be expedited as fast as possible. Unfortunately, the Meru people thought today is the day that we are listening to all the issues and also making the decision. So I was forced this morning to go to all the radios to explain to them that today is just the start of the process. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, Meru community is very anxious. I know this Christmas, most of them, some of us will enjoy the Christmas, not in the normal manner. So, Mr. Speaker, we must get the system or the method which at least will give commitment. Because if we have 11 members committed to this cause, Mr. Speaker, I know that matter will be expedited with the fastest time possible. And these 10 days, if this matter can be listened to even within 5 days, that will be okay, Mr. Speaker, because the maximum time is 10 days for the committee to listen to all parties and bring the report to this House. Even if we are recalled earlier than the 30th of December, we will be able to come back, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, members should not be worried because we are bound by our standing orders to appear as friends of committee. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, all those members who feel that they shouldn't be part of that committee to listen to the issues, either in the defense of the governor or against, they are free to attend those sessions. Personally, even though I'm not in the committee, for the interest of my people, I will be appearing as much as possible to the committee to listen to the issues that will be raised, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I know I want to confirm whether that gap is because of my statement or it is because of former Senator Governor Mandago. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much. So I was saying I will be, even my friend here, Senator Meru, will be much interested also to participate, to appear. And I also encourage as many senators as possible to appear as friends of the committee. Senator Chalegei, I also request the chair, because we don't know the chair who will be elected chairman of the committee, to give even the senators who are not members of the committee even time to even interrogate the witnesses, because that is the prerogative of the chair to give the friends of the committee. So if it is possible, as much as possible, whoever will be the chair should be lenient enough also to give other senators who are not members of the committee also time to ask questions and clarifications. So, Mr. Speaker, as a senator for Meru, I'm happy, and I know the committee or the other, whichever way this matter goes, Meru will get justice. And I hope that by the end of the month, things will be better and back. Also, I'll also request the committee to give even recommendations in the future so that other counties can be able to follow what the committee will work upon. So let us even give recommendations so that our counties can run smoothly. With those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I thank you and wish all the senators Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. At this juncture, I will call the Leader of Majority, who is the mover of this motion, to reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this chance. I have had the opportunity to listen to almost every senator actually make their contribution. Those who agree, majority who agree that this is the way to go, and a few that maybe for one reason or the other thought otherwise. I think their views have also been listened to, and for good reason. As leadership, we keep on learning every day. People are different. People appreciate issues differently. Not everyone is made of the same temperament and cut from a particular cloth, Mr. Speaker. So you have to understand people. Leading a team as big as the ones that the minority leader leads or myself calls for balance. You know, Mr. Speaker, many things have been said and many suggestions have been given, including the possibility. You know, sometimes people say things and you listen and say, if you are in my position, will that be practical, what you're saying? That for every decision that you want to make, you must first call people into a meeting and say, which way? Surely, I don't think we will ever make any progress. It's a reality of life. We don't make light, actually, of the various opposing views that we've listened to, especially on what is justified. But I think, to me, Mr. Speaker, the winner of it all is the senator for Meru has just finished on the floor. He speaks on behalf of the people of Meru. He has a confidence of this House, and I said, whichever way this House decides, plenary or committee, that he is comfortable in the interest of the greater people of Meru for them to get justice. And he has agreed with the motion as proposed. He believes in the committees of this House. You know, Mr. Speaker, I can't remember who it was, but somebody from the minority side actually said something quite profound, that as a committee chairperson, actually, I now remember it was Senator Professor Kamar, that a vote in support of this committee, you're simply voting to affirm that you believe in the committees of this House. This committee is not different from any other of our committees. Therefore, if we set a precedent of saying that we don't trust in committees, this and that may happen, we are by and large, and you know we are all members of committees in one way or the other, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I plead with my colleagues, let us vote, support the motion as is, and tomorrow our colleagues can begin the work and put us on notice. As soon as they are ready, we shall come back to hear what will be the finding of his committee. With those many remarks, Mr. Speaker, I beg to move.
Honorable Senators, pursuant to Standing Order 84-1, I do determine that the matter affects counties, and therefore voting will be by county delegations. The vote will be carried when a minimum of 24 delegations vote in favor of the motion. At this juncture, I'll ask the Sergeant at Arms to ring the division bell for 2 minutes. So, honorable senators, the voting shall be done electronically, so kindly use your cards to log in. Honorable senators, I now put the question. But before I do that, Senator, please walk in. Sergeant at Arms, kindly draw the bar. Thank you. Honorable Senators, I now put the question that whereas pursuant to Article 181 of the Constitution and Section 33 of the County Governments Act, on 14th December 2022, the Meru County Assembly approved a motion to remove from office by impeachment Honorable Kawira Mwangaza, the Governor of Meru County. And further, whereas by a letter reference number CAM/Res/Volume V/2, dated 15th December 2022, received in the office of the Speaker of the Senate on Thursday, 15th December 2022, the Speaker of the Meru County Assembly informed the Speaker of the Senate of the approval of the motion by the County Assembly and further forwarded to the Speaker of the Senate documents in evidence of the proceedings of the Assembly. And whereas pursuant to Section 33(3)(b) of the County Government Act and Standing Order 81(b) of the Senate by resolution may appoint a special committee comprising 11 of its members to investigate the matter. Now, therefore, pursuant to Section 33(3)(b) of the County Government Act and Standing Order 81(b), the Senate resolves to establish a special committee comprising the following senators. 1, Senator Dr. Boni Kalale, CBS MP. Senator Jackson Mandago, EGH MP. Senator Karungo Thangwa MP. Senator Esther Okenyuri MP. Senator Roba Ali Ibrahim, EGH MP. Senator Peris Tobiko MP. Senator Eddie Gisheru Okech MP. Senator Joseph Githuku Kamau MP. Senator Edwin Sifuna MP. Senator Agnes Kavindu Muthama MP. And Senator Jones Mwaruma MP to investigate the proposed removal from office of the Governor of Meru County and pursuant to Standing Order 82 to report to the Senate within 10 days of its appointment on whether or not it finds the particulars of the allegations against the Governor to have been substantiated. So, honorable senators, voting starts now. I said we're going to vote electronically. So you press either yes, no, or abstain. Members, can you resume your seats? Members, kindly resume your seats. Voting is complete. Sergeant at Arms, you may now withdraw the bars, please. Honorable Senators, the voting is complete, and here are the results. Ayes 33, noes 2, abstentions 0. The ayes have it. Honorable Senators, having put the special committee in place, the committee will have 10 days to investigate and report back to the Senate on whether it finds allegations against the governor to have been substantiated. The committee should therefore table its report in the Senate on or before Friday, 30th December 2022. Honourable Senators, there being no other business on the order paper, the Senate stands adjourned until Tuesday, 14th February 2023 at 2:30 p.m. The committee meets immediately after the Kamkunji in committee room number 5. I thank you. Yeah, you go. Thank you.